Hi guys, welcome back on the channel. On today's video we're going to have a flip through of Milites Mundi rules, ancient and medieval war games rules for smaller scale figures. This is from Swordpoint and Grieving Beast. Now we have the digital, there's no digital version. The guys from Grieving Beast were very kind to send me their original copy, but you can find it the same print as Swordpoint soft cover illustrated with color. So let's start. We'll go to the credits, contents, and we'll go to introduction. Milites Mundi is for smaller scales, not as Swordpoint, and for 6mm, 10mm, even 15mm. Now there is a description how you play the game with D6s, and then how you choose your forces. You see from photographs for what size of battles and for what basing it's intended. And then we go to setting up the game, about the dimension of the table and how do you deploy your troops. And here is the basic concept. It's basically how the author believes the miniatures should be based and how many miniatures for every base. It doesn't matter really at all. Just remember that these rules are based on a single base unit. So we don't have a removal of bases as we have in Swordpoint. It's one base, and just the base then is broken or destroyed. It doesn't have removal of miniatures. So you're talking about unit order. You have close order, open order, and skirmish troops, command and control, facing, measurement, and momentum. And then we go here to winning the game. How you win the game, basically it's the same as Swordpoint. This is basically based on the general idea of Swordpoint, on the mechanics of Swordpoint, with the difference obviously in shooting and hand-to-hand combat regarding that you don't have base removal, so it's a different mechanics, and you don't have too many modifiers. The rules are based on adding dice. So skirmish unit gets 1 point, formed units under 30 points get 2 points, and formed units over 30 points get 3 points. This you add together and you get the army breaking point. That's half. For example, if your army costs 20, the army breaking point is 10. But also, although here you can see army generals, commanders, and elephants don't add up to the army breaking point, they can reduce it. By if you lose your general, you lose 2 points from your army, although the general doesn't add to your army points. Here, game turn. This is basically the same as Swordpoint. You have the initial game, the initial phase, the shooting phase, the movement phase, and the close combat phase. Now, the initial phase is basically tidying up whatever happened in combat. Movement, you have to follow a specific sequence. We'll discuss it, and shooting is before movement. So let's go, and we're talking about the initial phase. You have cohesion and loss of terror, some special rules, returning troops, discourage markers. You remove discourage markers, and you discard surplus momentum tokens. Now afterwards you have the shooting phase, where you declare targets. Every weapon has a different distance. You have to shoot to your most close enemy. You cannot choose. And then you have obviously how you hit the target. Throw 4 or more and it hits a target. And here you see the modifiers are based on dice. You add and remove dice instead of modifiers. So a unit shooting in long range throws 1 less die than usual. A unit of superior shooters throws 1 more dice. A unit of inferior shooters 1 less dice than usual. A unit shooting skirmishers, a unit shooting at obscure target, a unit shooting with crossbows or longbows at short range throws 1 more die. So that's a close range bonus. And then how you convert hits to kills. So to hit, you throw 4 or more to hit. So how you convert hits to kills, once you have hit your enemy must roll to see if these hits will be converted into kills. And depending on his armor value, light armor, heavy armor, if he scores over or the same with his defense value, then the hit has no effect. If the defender's rolls obviously less than his defense value, then the hit is a success. A throw of 1 is always a failure. So Here is determining the results of shooting. You basically have to take a break test or get discouraged, and this has negative modifiers. We have rules for cover, hard cover, and soft cover as well. Then this is what's the effects of discourage, and when you have to take a break test when a unit suffers a specific number of kills. Then we go to movement. Now in movement you have to follow exact the stages mentioned in the rules. So you die for initiative, the winner of initiative declares who will move first, and then first you declare your charges and charge responses. This is basically you will probably try to flee, to evade if you have skirmish troops. You will stand and fight if you have heavy infantry. You can countercharge if you have cavalry. And here you're talking about the charge responsing and other rules, drawing opponents, declaring disengagement. This is the responses, evade, hold, cover and countercharge. All these are charge responses depending on the troop types you have. Disengagement and countercharge is only for mounted troops. Then the second is you rally fleeing troops. This is part of the movement phase. You rally fleeing troops. So troops that are fleeing have to be rallied. In order to rally, you have to roll a d6, add a +2 to the total, and then depending or if it's discouraged, you have to add another 1. If you have opponents close to you, you have to add more modifiers. It's very difficult to rally troops. Troops, in order to rally, they have to have a commander in command range, a captain. In order to use the captain's cohesion value, the commander's cohesion value, it has to be only a general. So in order for a troop to rally, it has to have in command range a command figure. But to rally, they can use, sometimes in Swordpoint and in Milites Mundi, you can use in command range your commander's cohesion value. When rallying fleeing troops, you can use only the general's cohesion value. Then you have a compulsory move. This is the third stage of the movement phase, the movement of fleeing troops. So you rally, you fail to rally, and then you move the troops you fail to rally. You move the troops as charge responses, so basically you move the troops that they are evading or the counter-charging. Then you move the chargers, and then basically it explains to you what charge, a failed charge, aligning the competence, etc. Nice pictures of armies. I think these are 10 or 6 men, I'm not sure. It talks about moving engaged units, attacking revealed units, and then you do the remaining moves. The remaining moves basically is to maneuver your remaining troops that don't charge or haven't been charged, so they're going to have charge responses in order to organize your line of battle and create favorable situation for you, so you can bring your units forward to create a line of battle with the units that are fighting, so you can divide the result, as you know in Swordpoint, the line of battle, and have more chance of winning or not losing if your opponent is very strong. Here, so your movement distance is 8 inches, 6 inches and 4 inches, and here we're talking about maneuvers and the movement, how the units move. There is the first part of my video of masterclass for Milites Mundi by the author that shows the movement. I would suggest you watch it. Now you talk about effects of the terrain, obstacles, and returning troops from outside the table. Then we go to combat phase. Combat phase, again, it's basically the same philosophy of adding dice, not modifiers, as you have in Swordpoint. So you can see here, hitting an enemy, you need a +4 again. Charging formed infantry gets an extra d6 for every 3 that he will normally throw. I think close order troops roll 6. Superior fighters throw an extra dice. So you have all this here, different circumstances, a different quality of troops and weapons you have that will give you more dice to roll. Then you have partial engagement. That's quite a clever way of solving units that are not aligned or they cannot be aligned or they're staggered. Basically, if your center is touching your opponent, you get less dice, but more than if your center doesn't touch your opponent, is not in contact. So obviously, if you are corner to corner, edge to edge, you will get your full die rolls plus the modifiers. But if you're not, some units are not fighting, so you will get less, and even less if your center is not in contact with your opponent. Then converting hits to kills is the same concept, where you hit with a 4, and then you have to check with the defense value, the armor value of the opponent. So here are some modifiers here at bonus table. When you get the result, so when you have the result and there is 3 kills for one side and 1 kill for the other, it's 3-1, it's not finished. You have the bonus table depending on the circumstance. For example, if you have a general, get a +1. If you're attacking the flank, get a +1. If you're in high ground, you get a +1, +2 if your troops are close order. You get -1 if you're discouraged or -1 if you're disorganized. So you add all these modifiers to the result of the heads, and then you go to the difference in scores table where you will see what will be the action of the loser. So if you lose by 0 or 1, you continue fighting. 2 or 3, you become discouraged and fall back 2 inches. 4 or 5, you become discouraged and have to take a break test. If you pass, you fall back. If you fail, obviously you break, and 6, you break immediately. Now the line of battle here, we're discussing about units that are 1 inch apart, and the same in Swordpoint. Very important, the rules force you to have a coherent line. The rules force you to have support. The rules force you to work coherently, and that's very important. So in the line of battle, when you're fighting your opponent, the result is divided by the unit supporting you with maximum 3. As you can see, if you're B, there's maximum 3 units fighting together. If it's A, it's 2, and that's a great advantage, because basically if you lose by 6, and that would have been automatic a break, if divided by 3, round it up if you want, it's 2, and that would go immediately become discouraged and fall back. Units that they're beside you and they're not fighting, they read the result 1 line higher, and they have the option or to follow the comrades back, fall back, and keep holding the line of battle, or stay where they are and do something else. Here again, what I'm talking about, multiple combats. Multiple combats you resolve as 1. So if there are 6 units fighting, staggered, or 7 units fighting, 4 and 3, you die for all of them and you get the results, but the modifiers are added as whole. So if you get a +1, for example, for high ground, this +1 is for the combat. So the modifiers at the end are for the combat, not for the individual unit. Applying combat results, and then you're falling back. Break tests. If you break, you have to take a break test. And if a unit breaks, units that are 6 inches from the unit that broke have to take cohesion tests, seeing their comrades breaking. Here the momentum tokens. The momentum tokens, the same concept they have in Swordpoint. Depending on actions you perform, you get momentum tokens that you can add in melee to give you some bonuses in getting the initiative if you want. All these are fun, but not if you play solo like me. They have the philosophy is there. I understand it. You see your army doing stuff, and your morale is getting higher. It's not gamey at all, but it's something I haven't used actually for quite some time in my battles. Most of them are solo. So then you have flee. How do you flee? Depending on 2d6 or 3d6 or 1d6, depending on if you are mounted or foot. Pursue, move, avoid, pursue. You have to take a cohesion test. Pursue off the table. After pursue, you become disorganized if you don't find another opponent. Another nice photographs here. So let's go to cohesion test. Now you have 4 reasons to take a cohesion test. Fleeing friends within 2 inches at the start of the turn. That would be in the initial phase. French break or destroyed in hand-to-hand combat within 6 inches. If you're charged in flank or rear. If the general is slain within 6 inches. So all this you have to take an immediate cohesion test. Now a break test is different than a cohesion test. The cohesion test, you roll d6 and you have to roll above your cohesion value. A break test has negative modifiers. It's a much more difficult test. So cohesion test, from seeing friends breaking, is totally different than a break test. So details of the test situation. Here are some more details. Charge in the flank or rear. Every situation is explained. Skirmishers, units losing cohesion, cohesion lost at the start of the turn, cohesion lost in combat. Here we have command bases. It explains to you the command and the command radius of 4 and 6 for the general and 4 for the captains. How you move the command bases, how they support. The command bases have attack bonuses and cohesion values. The captains have cohesion bonuses. The general has a cohesion value that can be used. Both captains and generals' cohesion value can be used, and attack bonuses, obviously, if they're attached to the unit. Then is the commander's cohesion, as I said before, and commanders leaving units. Then we go very quickly. Shooting at a general, hand-to-hand fighting for a general, an army general. What it does, as I told you, it's the only command figure that can help a unit rally with its cohesion value. if any captain is close to a unit, obviously the unit can rally. Otherwise, a unit cannot rally. That's why it's very important in Swordpoint and Milites Mundi, the command is to be in a position strategic where you can cover all your units. A unit that is not in command range of any commander cannot rally. If it's in command range of a captain, it can rally, but it cannot use the captain's cohesion value, only its own. If a general is in command range, it can use the general's cohesion, and that's only for fleeing. In other circumstances, units can use the cohesion value of the captain. And you have special rules. You have ambush, combined formation, drill troops. It's quite a lot of special rules. Escorts, evade, impetuous, levies, massed cavalry, mounted infantry, nomad cavalry, Parthian short, phalanxes, shield walls, shock cavalry, special deployment, stratagems. They have stratagem if you want. Terror, stubborn, tethered camels, used to elephants, veterans, warbands, wedge. There's a lot of special rules. And here's all about order, close order, movement, shooting, and combat. Open order, the same. It explains to you the orders, the two orders basically, and skirmish, obviously. And here you have the skirmish order. Yeah, sorry, that explains to you how the skirmish's characteristics. And here you go to special units, chariots, elephants, torsion artillery, sorry. And here you have scenarios: skirmish, scout and clash, hidden deployment, out-scouted, rear guard. Some interesting scenarios: meeting engagement, river crossing. I actually haven't played them, but I heard from friends that they're quite good scenarios. And then you have the index, quite useful because you can see exactly where titles where you can find them. So you can see camp. You want to see about camp, it's in page 7, 10, 26, and 42. So it's a quite helpful index where you can see for where specific words are. And here you have the appendix. Army is able to field, torsion, artillery, and here we put together step by step how you paint a minis, and here is the last page. So this is, guys, a very quick flip through of Milites Mundi rules. I hope I explained them to you well. A very fine set of rules. I don't know if it's very popular. I don't know why it's not very popular. The combat mechanics like Swordpoint are brilliant. The support between the units forces you to move coherently and you cannot have a super unit to win the battle. You cannot, like maybe in other rules. You need to move coherently because the support will help the army win. Otherwise, if your units get isolated, you are in trouble. Again, the pushbacks create totally different circumstances in every possible round where your units are pushing back and you find yourself isolated. If you don't take the correct decisions of your supports moving with the other units, you will find yourself isolated and surrounded. You can pin your opponent, fight strongly, and then use your light troops to attack him from the flanks. Very, very fine set of rules. I highly recommend them. Hopefully I can find a battle report with these so you can enjoy. This is from me. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.